Yeah, audible, guys. I'm so sorry. Uh, okay. So sorry. Some technical glitch. Extremely sorry for that. Extremely sorry. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll just rearrange everything. Okay, so sorry, guys. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so in this spirit, okay, so now please focus here. So what happened, say between 2009 till the present times? So after 2009, the civil war ended. So we started having a cordial relation with Sri Lanka. So only from the economic perspective. But in 2013 onwards, what happened? China's influence in Sri Lanka started increasing because China started something called as a Belt and Road Initiative project. That is your BRI project. Yeah, China started something called as a BRI project. Under this BRI project, China started giving a lot of money and lot of infrastructure to Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka was moving towards China. So this was a challenge for us in this period. But however, India gave a lot of concession in terms of say providing line of credit, so helping out Sri Lanka, so representing Sri Lanka in IMF, World Bank. It is India who represents Sri Lanka in IMF and World Bank, etc. So we were the voice of Sri Lanka in the international forums in this period. So right on here. So what was the last point that you guys had written? Can someone just type the last two words, last two or three words? Okay, starting from this, right? Okay, people to people contact. Okay, okay, okay. Post Rajiv Gandhi assassination. Okay, fine. Post Rajiv Gandhi assassination. Okay, fine. Okay, so right on here. So we'll start from this period, say from 2009, from 2009 till present times. 2009 till present times. So right on here, in this phase, so right on, in this period, India proactively engaged. India proactively engaged with Sri Lanka, with Sri Lanka to increase with Sri Lanka to increase trade and investment, to increase trade and investment, to increase trade, bilateral trade, to increase bilateral trade and investment, to increase lateral, yeah, to increase bilateral trade and investment, bilateral trade and investment. Fine. So next right on. So in this next point right on, post 2013, post 2013, post 2013, due to post 2013, due to China's Belt and Road Initiative, post 2013, due to China's Belt and Road Initiative, China's Belt and Road Initiative, China's Belt and Road Initiative, Sri Lanka Belt and Road Initiative, Sri Lanka started becoming, Sri Lanka started becoming closer to China, closer to China. Sri Lanka started becoming closer to China, started becoming closer to China, which was a competition, which was a competition for India, which was a competition for India, which was a competition for India, which was a competition for India. Okay, so right now, however, 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 India, India supported Sri Lanka. However, India supported Sri Lanka in international forums. India supported Sri Lanka in forums, international forums, international forums to get international forums to get adequate economic aid, to get adequate economic aid, to get aid, economic aid, adequate economic aid, adequate economic aid during Sri Lankan economic during Sri Lankan economic crisis, during Sri Lankan economic crisis post 2020, during Sri Lankan economic crisis post 2020, post 2020. Fine. So now, even now, India is one of the that is Sri Lanka considers India as one of the closest ally, and India has supported Sri Lanka a lot after this economic crisis in Sri Lanka post 2020. That is due to COVID crisis. In fact, China has not taken adequate steps, but it is India who supported Sri Lanka in international forums, and India provided line of credit, that is a lot of loan, a line of credit to Sri Lanka. And India also provided them with ration, with fuel, etc. when there was a crisis, when there was a massive crisis in Sri Lanka after 2020. Fine. So now we are having, in the present times, we are having a good relation with Sri Lanka. So what happened, it was say during 2013, say from 2013 till almost say 2020. So India was moving closer to China. So sorry, Sri Lanka was moving closer to China because Sri Lanka started giving a lot of loans, a lot of infrastructures under this Belt and Road Initiative. Sri Lanka got influenced under China, but the effects of this Belt and Road Initiative, as we discussed while taking up the Belt and Road Initiative, it put Sri Lanka under a debt burden, under a debt trap. So as a reason, the effects of this period, that is say 2013 till 2020, this effect now Sri Lanka is witnessing. So as a reason, because of this, Sri Lanka faced one of the reason for Sri Lankan economic crisis is this participating in Belt and Road Initiative. And after 2020, China has not voluntarily given any concession to Sri Lanka. So China has told that whatever other countries give concession, on the same lines we will also give concession. It is India. It is India among many countries. India was one of the big countries who gave a lot of aid to Sri Lanka. So, but China did not give to Sri Lanka during this economic crisis. So now Sri Lanka is considered as one of the closest ally to India. Fine. So this is the that is post civil war. What happened between India and Sri Lanka? So now write down convergence of convergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. Convergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. Convergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. So what are the convergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka? So what are the convergence of interest? See, both are a developing country. So the first important convergence of interest. See, after 2000, that is after Vajpayee's period, what did we do? Our focus was on promoting the economic cooperation. So during Rajiv Gandhi's period, we during Rajiv Gandhi's period, that is we tried to negotiate the peace deal between the militant group and the government. That did not work out. So from Vajpayee's period, we are very conscious that if we are dealing with Sri Lanka, Lanka, it should be only from the economic perspective, mainly from the economic perspective. So what happened? What is the convergence of interest now? Both the countries are developing countries. So if we have to increase our economic level, if we have to increase the economy, the only way is that bilateral trade and economic cooperation is extremely important. Video, am I, any issues with the video, Steven? Video, any issues, guys? Any issues? No issue. Steven, then it's from your side here. No, no, no. Video is proper. Video is proper. Okay. So please see here. The convergence of the most important convergence of interest is that economic cooperation, that is bilateral economic cooperation, is important. That is, India wants to explore, India wants to export its goods and services to Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka also want to tap into India's market. So Sri Lanka is a good tourist destination. So Sri Lanka wants to acquire, Sri Lanka wants to wants to attract Indian tourists into Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka Indians also wants to send their goods to Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka and India, the one of the most important convergence of interest is that bilateral economic cooperation. So write down here. So first one write down. First economic, that is first convergence of interest is that bilateral economic cooperation. Bilateral economic cooperation. Bilateral economic cooperation. Bilateral economic cooperation, as both country would benefit from each other's market. As both country would benefit from each other's market. Okay, so next one, right on developmental assistance. Next convergence of interest is that developmental assistance. Developmental assistance. Developmental assistance. Developmental assistance. Next convergence of interest is the developmental assistance. See here, India has given a lot of money to Sri Lanka for developmental activities like, say, healthcare, education, housing, etc. If you see the northern Sri Lankan region, that is the Jaffna region, India has given a lot of money to construct schools, healthcare institutes, say housing sectors, etc. Housing, etc. in this region, because this is where the Tamil minorities are there. So it is going to benefit both. That is, we will have a goodwill if we are investing in this region. When India is investing in this north Sri Lanka region, what would happen is that it would build a good relation between India and Sri Lanka. That is advantageous for India, and secondly, it is going to help Sri Lanka. So it is a convergence of interest, that is providing developmental assistance. Below this, write down example. Below that, write down example, developmental assistance for developmental assistance for housing, developmental assistance for housing, education, etc. in Jaffna region. In Jaffna, in Jaffna region, in Jaffna region, in Jaffna region. Okay, so I'll give a break after this convergence of interest, guys. We'll take a break. So or else again let's not discontinue this in between. So it will not take more than say 5-10 minutes. Please bear. So 5-10 minutes, please. Okay. So next one is security engagements. Next convergence of interest is security engagements. So security engagements. So write down security engagements. Yeah. So if you see here, the goods of the trade routes, that is India's trade route should go via here. Sri Lankan trade route also overlaps here. So if any commodity that has to pass the Suez Canal, this is your Africa, this is a Arab world, this is India, and this is Sri Lanka. If there has to be any commodities that has to be traded between, say, Arab world or say Europe, both India and Sri Lanka have the same trade routes. So security concern, that is maritime security, is common for both. That is maritime security is common for both. That is, both India and Sri Lanka wants to have a good maritime security in this Indian Ocean region, so that India and Sri Lanka, in it doesn't affect their trade perspective. Fine. So that is under security engagements. Right on maritime security. So why maritime security is a convergence of interest? Why both of them have the same interest? Because both India and Sri Lanka have the same trade route. So same since they have the same trade route, so maritime security is that is becomes a convergence of interest. Fine. So write down here both countries and write down under this, write down maritime security, write down both countries share same interest. Both countries share same interest of maritime security, same interest of maritime security in Indian Ocean region, in Indian Ocean Indian Ocean region, in Indian Ocean region, in Indian Ocean region. Okay, so next one is disaster engagements. That is crisis response and disaster management. See, that is both countries. Yeah, here if you consider both countries are located at the same, almost they have the same similar environment, that is coastal environment. So here also this coastal area, we are vulnerable. India is vulnerable to cyclones. Sri Lanka is also vulnerable towards cyclones. India is vulnerable towards tsunami. Sri Lanka is also vulnerable towards tsunami. India is vulnerable towards the increase in the sea level and coastal erosion. Sri Lanka is also vulnerable towards the same. So all this crisis response and disaster management, both the countries face the similar crisis, similar disasters. So it is in the same interest that both countries help each other in terms of managing those disasters. So next one, write down disaster management engagements. So next point, write down next convergence of interest is that disaster management engagement. Disaster disaster management engagements. Disaster management engagements. Right on. Both nations face similar disasters like both nations face similar disasters like cyclone, cyclone, tsunami, coastal erosions, etc. Cyclone, tsunami, coastal erosion, etc. So both share same interest. So both share an interest. Both so both have same interest in sharing resources, resources, in sharing resources and expertise in managing disasters. In managing expertise in managing disasters. Expertise in managing disasters. expertise in managing disasters. Right. Okay. And the next one is, yeah, next convergence of interest is that climate change, climate change mitigation, climate change, climate change mitigation, climate change mitigation. So see here, both India also has a coastal line. Sri Lanka also has a coastal line. India also has a lot of islands. Sri Lanka in itself is an island. So due to climate change, what is happening is that there is increase in the sea level. So because of increase in the sea level, there is inundation of land. There is a lot of coastal erosion. So now it is in the interest of both India and Sri Lanka to promote the climate change mitigation efforts, say be it in terms of using renewable energy, or say getting, or say forcing the western world to give funds for climate change mitigation measures, etc. So both India and Sri Lanka share similar problems. So as a reason, they have the same, or say they have same interest in terms of managing, or say in terms of managing this climate change mitigation efforts. So write down here, write on this. Both India and Sri Lanka, both India and Sri Lanka face similar consequences due to climate change. Both India and Sri Lanka face similar consequences due to climate change, due to climate change because of due to climate change because of global warming and sea level rise, because of global warming and sea level rise, sea level sea level rise, because of global warming and sea level rise, global warming and sea level rise, global warming and sea level rise. So below this, write down, both share same interest, both share same interest, both share same interest in the climate change mitigation efforts. Both share same efforts in the climate change mitigation efforts, in the climate change mitigation efforts, in the climate change mitigation efforts, in the climate change mitigation efforts. Okay, next other thing that is common interest, as a convergence of interest, is that regional cooperation, regional regional cooperations, regional cooperation, that is at the regional level, say be it SARC or BIMSTEC or say BBIN, at the regional level, both India and Sri Lanka wants to cooperate, so that it will lead to enhanced security, it will lead to enhanced economic ties, it will lead to it will lead to increased people to people contact in every aspects. Whenever there's a cooperation, a regional cooperation, it is going to benefit all the entities. So now both India and Sri Lanka wants to have a good regional and global cooperation, so that it is going to benefit both the parties. So write down here. So next convergence of interest is that enhance regional and global cooperations. Enhance regional and global cooperations to which enhance regional and global cooperation, which can benefit, which can benefit in terms of, which can benefit in terms of, which can benefit in terms of resolving issues, resolving bilateral issues, resolving bilateral and multilateral issues, resolving bilateral and multilateral issues, promoting trade and connectivity, and promoting trade and connectivity, promoting trade and connectivity. Okay, so these are the broad convergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. So now we'll take up divergence of interest after the break. So write on this, divergence of interest. Divergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. Divergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. Yes, here we'll take up Kachatibu issue. Fine. Okay. So we'll take a break. So the time is say 7:50. We'll take a we'll start the class by 8:05. Please come back by 8:05. Okay, so shall we start? Okay, guys. So right now, divergence of interest. See, you have to know some basics thing in the surrounding India, that is neighbors. So only with Pakistan and China we have a lot of divergence of interest. But however, say with respect to with respect to Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, with these countries we just have very little divergence of interest. And earlier, with Afghanistan also we had a very little divergence of interest. Now that Taliban has come into place, the divergence of interest has increased. But however, even with Sri Lanka, the divergence of interest is very minimum. So despite after 2000, the divergence of interest after Vajpayee initiated this economic cooperation with Sri Lanka again, after PM Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, the divergence of interest more or less have been resolved. Most of the things have been resolved. So even during Indira Gandhi's period, also we had a cordial relation. Since Sri Lanka is a friendly country, we have very limited divergence of interest. So right on this, what is the divergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka? And this is very much limited, very limited. So right on the first, divergence of interest. So this is not a major issue as such. There is no major, very like super big issues between India and Sri Lanka. These are like very minor issues between India and Sri Lanka. The first one is regarding the fishing dispute in the Park Strait. So right on here, first divergence of interest is the fishing dispute in the Park Strait. Fishing dispute in the Park Strait. So what are the fishing dispute in the Park Strait? So the first one is here. I'll give a brief overview about the fishing, the nature of fishing in this region, in this Park Strait. So what happens is that, say, historically it was Indian fishermen who were fishing in this region. So historically Indian fishermen were fishing in this region, and the fishing community from Sri Lanka were fishing in this territory, in their side. So but what happened, as the economy started increasing in India, as the economic progression increased in India after 1991, that is the Indian fishing community started using motorized boat. So this is not the motorized boat. So, but however, the Sri Lankan fishing community, they did not start using motorized boat a lot. So they are using, but however, majority are not using. So it was under very much developing country compared to India. The economic progression was low. So as a reason, they were not using a motorized boats, so they could not go deep into the sea. Whereas it was Indian fishing community, they used motorized boat, so they could go deep into the sea. Sometimes what happens was that, since Indian fishing community were using motorized boat, they entered the international waters, and they entered into the Sri Lankan water. They crossed the international waters and entered into the Sri Lankan water. This is where it causes the dispute. So one, there are multiple disputes in this fishing issues. So one dispute is that Indian fishermen, when they use motorized boat, so they breach this border, international border, and go into the Sri Lankan territory. This is not with this is just this is without knowing, Indian fishermen enters there. So but however, this is not some malified mistake as such, a bona fide mistake. So without knowing, they entered into Sri Lankan waters, and but here the issue starts. So when the Indian fishermen, when without knowing, if they enter into the Sri Lankan waters, the Sri Lankan Navy, they capture them and they don't leave them. So that is the issue. One dispute is that, when if Sri Lankan Navy captures Indian fishermen who has unknowingly entered into Sri Lankan waters, they capture them and they don't leave them. So they have to stay in the jail for, say, multiple months to multiple years. That is one dispute that is going on between India and Sri Lanka. So we many times Indian Prime Minister has raised this issue. So but you can ask that, why Indian Navy doesn't catch Sri Lankan fishermen? Because most of the Sri Lankan fishermen doesn't use motorized boat. so they cannot go deep into the sea, but however deep inside the sea. So as a reason, Indian fishermen uses motorized boat, unknowingly they go there. So as a reason, they the Sri Lankan Navy captures them and they don't release. This is one issue. And the second issue is that there is a small island called as Kachativu Island. So yeah, this is a, yeah, and there's a small island called as a Kachativu Island. So this Kachativu Island was held by Sri Lanka historically, and few kingdom in this thing, Tamil Nadu had some political influence over this island. So, but up till during the colonial times, this island was with Sri Lanka, had Sri Lankan political control. But however, the usage of this island was by the Indian community, Indian fishing community. That is, the Indian fishermen were going near this Kachativu Island for fishing. It is deep inside. Indian fishermen were going. But however, Sri Lankan fishermen were not going near this Kachativu Island. But during colonial period, so Sri Lanka, this Kachativu Island is considered as a political part of Sri Lanka. So what happened in 1974? So this issue was lingering from 1920 onwards. So in 1974, a final agreement was signed between India and Sri Lanka. It said that this island, the title of the territory, that is the title, the political control over this island would be with Sri Lanka. But however, the fishing rights would still remain with Indian fishing community. So now, despite we have given this this island to Sri Lanka, the fishing rights is always with Indian fishing community. So it is not that we have completely given up the island. Only for the title, that it is like the title, the political title, the land rights, we have given it to them. But however, the usage rights is still with India. So this is the broad fishing disputes between India and Sri Lanka. So write down here. The first point is convergence. The first divergence of interest is that fishing disputes in the Park Strait. Fishing disputes in the Park Straits. Here, the first dispute is that Indian fishermen unknowingly, when they cross the international waters, the Sri Lankan Navy captures them and they do not release. So the divergence of interest is that India says that they have unknowingly entered your water. They don't want to breach the international laws. They have unknowingly entered the water. But what does Sri Lanka tells? So even if they have entered the water, they have committed a crime. So we will not release them. So this is where the divergence of interest starts. So first one, write out divergence of interest. So here, first one, Sri Lankan Navy, Sri Lankan Navy, Sri Lankan Navy and Coast Guard, Sri Lankan Navy and Coast Guard arrests, arrests, arrests Indian fishermen, Indian fishermen who unknowingly enter, who unknowingly enter, who unknowingly enter into the Sri Lankan waters, into the Sri Lankan waters, into the Sri Lankan waters, into the Sri Lankan waters. Okay, second, under this, second dispute is that, see, as per this 1974 agreement, what did the 1974 agreement tell? So the 1974 agreement between India and Sri Lanka regarding this Kachativu Island, it said that the political rights would be with the Sri Lanka, but however, the fishing rights of the around this Kachativu Island would be with India. But now what is happening is that, say, on and off, this is not a perennial issue. On and off, it is occasionally, it happens that the Sri Lankan Coast Guard, they enter near Kachativu Island, they also harass Indian fishermen. But as per this 1974 treaty, Indian fishermen have all the fishing rights in Kachativu Island. But the Sri Lankan Navy is not respecting this. The Sri Lankan Coast Guard is not respecting this. This is another divergence of interest. See, the Kachativu Island, the boundary disputes, that is resolved. But who has this fishing rights issue, that is still ongoing. So, as per the agreement, 1974 agreement, the fishing rights are with Indian fishermen. But however, the Sri Lankan Navy and Coast Guard, in occasionally they don't respect this. This is where there's a divergence of interest. Now India is not claiming the territorial rights over Sri Lanka, over Kachativu Island. The territorial rights over Kachativu Island has been resolved in 1974. We have told that you keep the territorial rights of this Kachati. It's a very small island. You keep the territorial rights of this Kachativu Island, but however, you have to give us the fishing rights. This fishing rights, Sri Lankan government has accepted. Now, occasionally, not on regular basis, occasionally, Sri Lankan Navy doesn't respect this 1974 Kachativu agreement. Fine. So write down here. Next point, write down. So here write down. Next one, under this fishing disputes, write down. So in 1974, in 1974 treaty, in 1974 treaty, yeah, 1974 treaty, in 1974 treaty, the Kachativu in 1974 treaty, the Kachativu Island, the Kachativu Island Kachativu Island dispute was resolved. Kachativu Island dispute was resolved. Kachativu Island was resolved, and India recognized, and India recognized Sri Lankan sovereignty. India recognized, one second, yeah. India recognized Sri Lankan sovereignty, Sri Lankan sovereignty over, yeah, over the island. Sri Lankan sovereignty over the island, over the island. However, India retained, India retained, India retained the fishing rights, the fishing rights. India retained the fishing rights, fishing rights in the surrounding waters, in the surrounding waters, in the surrounding waters, surrounding waters of the island, waters of the island, of the island. So here the issue is not with respect to the territorial integrity. So India has told that, "Okay, you maintain the sovereignty of this Kachativu Island, you keep it. But however, we will maintain the fishing rights." So now the dispute, the divergence of interest is that in 1974, Sri Lanka agreed that we will give fishing rights to the Indian community. That is, Sri Lankans will not come and fish here. But now what's happening is that when Indian fishing community go there to this Kachativu Island for fishing, or there's a very small church over there, very small church in this Kachati. There's only one small church in this Kachativu Island. Indian fishing community, when they go there to pray in this church, the Navy arrests us. The Sri Lankan Navy arrests. When Indian fishermen go near Kachativu Island for fishing, the Sri Lankan Navy arrests us. So this is violation of this 1974 agreement. This is where the divergence occurs. Now, as it is raised in this election campaigns, there is no divergence of interest in terms of sovereignty. Sovereignty issue has been resolved. Now the divergence of issue is in terms of fishing rights. 1974, Sri Lanka agreed for India's fishing rights in Kachativu Island, Now it is not respecting that. So this is the divergence of interest. Fine. So below this write down, currently, presently, Sri Lankan Navy, Sri Lankan Navy is not respecting, currently Sri Lankan Navy is not respecting the above agreement and arresting the Indian fishermen. Is not respecting the above agreement and arresting the Indian fishermen near Kachativu Island, near Kachativu, Kachativu, Kachativu Island, near Kachativu Island. So this is where the divergence of interest. So this is the divergence of interest. It is known as Kachativu Treaty, 1974 Kachativu Treaty, Ayush. Fine. Okay. So now let us see what are the other disputes or say other divergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. So what happened from say 2013 onwards, Sri Lanka, that is under Belt and Road Initiative project, Sri Lanka, that is China, is influencing Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka has participated in Belt and Road Initiative. So if you see here, around now the southern part of the, Sri Lanka, all the southern part of Sri Lanka, this is where, just 1 second. Yeah. So in the just 1 second. Guys, today there is complete change in the setup, so that's the reason there are some technical issues that is coming up. It's complete. We have completely revamped the setup, so that's the reason. Just 1 second. Yeah, now it's fine. So the all the complete setup has been changed, so that's the reason. Okay, so everything is fine, right? Okay, so what happened after this Belt and Road Initiative project when China has started? So Sri Lanka voluntarily participated in it. So it is not that China pushed in that. So Sri Lanka participated in that, and now once Sri Lanka participated, China pushed a lot of investment into Sri Lanka, and they started constructing a lot of infrastructures, mainly the airports and the seaports. Airport and seaport were constructed in Sri Lanka. So airport and seaport were constructed in Sri Lanka, and say metro rails, etc. A lot of investment has gone from China to Sri Lanka. So because of this, Sri Lanka started becoming very close towards China. So this is a divergence of interest. India doesn't want Sri Lanka to participate in this Belt and Road Initiative. You remember this Belt and Road Initiative that compromises India's sovereignty, because the CPEC corridor, China Pakistan Economic Corridor, compromises India's sovereignty. And India since beginning, it was very skeptical about this belt and road initiative project, because China is an authoritarian government, so it is very brutal towards expansion. So in the beginning, China in the beginning of this belt and road initiative project, India was very clear that in China would use this for militarization, that is they would use this for military purpose. And this is what happened. So India, China, that is Sri Lanka, participated in China's Belt and Road Initiative, and Sri Lanka started taking a lot of investment, and China also constructed a lot of projects. Let's say, for example, if you consider this Hambantota project here, this Hambantota project is a seaport. So initially, China told Sri Lanka that we will give you the funding, and you can repay us back. So China structured their loan debt in such a way that so Sri Lanka couldn't repay it back. One of the main reason for current Sri Lankan economic crisis is this Sri Lankan debt trap. So Sri Lanka got trapped in this China's debt. So China gave a lot of investment, and the debt was structured in such a way that Sri Lanka couldn't repay it back. Once Sri Lanka couldn't repay it back, China took over this Hambantota port. Now, who is managing this Hambantota port? Sri Lanka, China is managing this Hambantota port. And what happened? Say a couple of years back, China brought their naval vessels and they docked here. So they brought their submarines. That is, sorry, I'm so sorry. They brought the submarines and naval submarines and docked here. So they docked near Sri Lanka. So since they brought naval submarines near Sri Lanka, it's a big security threat to India. Why it's a big security threat to India? So if they are, say, if this is India. If you consider yeah, once again, yeah, if you consider this is India and this is Sri Lanka, if China is monitoring, China has its naval vessel over here, so what would happen? It will affect India's security. India cannot freely trade. China will keep monitoring India, what India is doing. India has its naval base over here, so now China will start monitoring India's naval base. So this is not good for India. So in this aspect, there is a divergence of interest. India doesn't want Sri Lanka to take investment from China, but Sri Lanka is taking this investment from China. And India doesn't want Sri Lanka to give control over all the ports to China, but Sri Lanka is giving the control to China. So this is the divergence of interest over here. So write down here under this write down. So under this write down. So China participated in, sorry, Sri Lanka participated. Sri Lanka participated in Sri Lanka participated in China's China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Belt and Road Initiative. Belt and Road Initiative project. Belt and Road Initiative projects, where China, where Sri Lanka received a lot of investments from China, where Sri Lanka received a lot of investments from China. As a reason, lot of investment from China. As a reason, Sri Lanka moved closer to moved closer to China. Sri Lanka moved closer to China. Further, 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 Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka gave its strategic assets. Sri Lanka gave its strategic, strategic, gave its strategic asset. Sri Lanka gave its strategic asset to China, which China, to China, which China is using, for military purpose, for military purpose. Say example is Hambantota. Example Hambantota. Hambantota port. Example is Hambantota port. So in this Hambantota port, so China has taken over this Hambantota port, and now China has earlier, say, few couple of years back, China had docked their naval submarine there. So that's a threat. So these are the divergence of interest. India doesn't want Sri Lanka to go closer to China, but Sri Lanka is going. India doesn't want Sri Lanka to give the strategic asset to China, but Sri Lanka is doing. So these are the divergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. And then what happened? So we had a civil war, a major civil war between in Sri Lanka between 1983 till 2009. So the civil war. This was the civil war period between civil war in Sri Lanka. So in this duration, so the Sri Lankan government committed a lot of atrocities against the Tamil minorities. So a lot of atrocities were committed against the Tamil minorities, and this was severely criticized by the Western world, mainly European countries. Severely criticized this actions of the Sri Lankan government on the Tamil minorities. So as a reason, they raised up this issue in UN, and what happened in UNHRC, Human Rights Council. So Human Rights Council now wanted to take actions against the people who have committed this crime, this war crime. So in order to take actions against the people who have committed this war crime, a resolution was passed. That is, whether should we take action against Sri Lanka for committing such war crimes. So this resolution was moved in UNHRC. In that resolution, what India did was, India told, yes, we should take actions against Sri Lanka for committing crimes on the Tamil minorities. So, but Sri Lanka did not like this. So Sri Lanka says that how can we are a sovereign nation? How can UN come and intervene in our internal matters? But this issue was taken in UNHRC, and a resolution was put for voting. So in this resolution, India told that yes, we want a commission. We want to take action against the people who committed crimes on the Tamil minorities, which Sri Lanka did not like. So this is a divergence of interest. Sri Lanka doesn't want UNHRC to take action against Sri Lanka, but India wants UNHRC to take action against the people who committed crimes against the Tamil minorities. So this is another divergence of interest. So write down here. Yeah. So write down here. So next one, write down UNHRC resolution. Your next point is UNHRC resolution. UNHRC resolution against Sri Lankan against Sri Lanka over war crimes against Sri Lanka against Sri Lanka against Sri Lanka over war crimes during 1983 till 2009. During 1983 till 2009. In this regard, so below this, write down, in this regard, India supported the resolution. In this regard, India supported the resolution. In this regard, India supported the resolution that irked, that irked, that irked, that irked Sri Lanka. That irked Sri Lanka. Fine. So that irked Sri Lanka. Okay. So this is the issue. India, Sri Lanka doesn't want UNHRC to take action on Sri Lanka, but India supported this resolution. And the next issue is that Tamil issues. So what happened even after civil war, even after 2009 civil war? So what happened? Sri Lanka told that after the civil war, Sri Lanka told that the northern Sri Lanka, that the Sri Lankan government told that the northern part of Sri Lanka is where Tamilians reside. The Sri Lankan government told that after 2009 civil war, the Sri Lankan government told that we will be improving this northern part of Tamil Nadu, northern part of Sri Lanka where Tamilians reside. So even now, even today, that is one of the least developed regions in Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan government is not taking any efforts, or let's say is taking very little efforts to develop this region. Again, the Tamil issue is one divergence of interest. That is, India wants Sri Lanka to develop this Tamil region, that is Jaffna region, the northern part of Sri Lanka. But however, Sri Lanka is not taking adequate efforts to develop this Jaffna region, or say northern Tamil Nadu, northern Sri Lanka region. So here I down Tamil issues. Tamil issues. Post Sri Lankan, post 2009 civil war, post 2009 civil war, post 2009 civil war, post 2009 civil war. Irked in the sense irritate. Yeah, that is irked. Okay, so post 2009 civil war, Sri Lanka promised, Sri Lankan government, Sri Lankan government, Sri Lankan government promised, Sri Lankan government promised to develop northern North Sri Lanka, to develop North Sri Lanka region, North Sri Lanka region, North Sri Lanka region within brackets, within brackets, where minority Tamilians reside. Within brackets, you write where minority, where minority, minority Tamilians reside, where minority Tamilians reside, minority Tamilians reside. Close the bracket. However, still the promise is unfulfilled. However, still the promise is unfulfilled. However, still the promise is unfulfilled. Unfulfilled. Still the promise is unfulfilled. Fine. Okay. So still the promise is unfulfilled. Okay. So these are the broad divergence of interest between India and Sri Lanka. So now let us see how do we overcome this divergence of interest. Again, with say countries like say Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh. So these are like one of the closest ally of India. We have very little divergence of interest between these countries. So how do we overcome this divergence of interest? The same pattern you have to write. So write down measures to overcome the divergence of interest. Measures to overcome the divergence of interest. Measures to overcome the divergence of interest. So the first one is, first measure is measures to overcome the divergence of interest. First measure is increasing diplomatic engagements, increasing diplomatic engagements. First one is increasing diplomatic engagement. Second one is promoting bilateral economic cooperation. Second one is promoting bilateral economic cooperations. Promoting bilateral economic cooperation by strengthening India Sri Lanka, by strengthening India Sri Lanka free trade, India Sri Lanka free trade agreement, by strengthening India Sri Lanka free trade agreement. India Sri Lanka, by strengthening India Sri Lanka free trade agreement. India Sri Lanka free trade agreement. Fine. Okay. So next one is, next one, increasing people to people contact, increasing people to people contact, increasing people to people contact through movies and musics, through movies and musics, through movies, musics and tourism, through movies, movies music, and tourism. Increasing people to people contact through movies, music, and tourism. Right? The next one is collaborating in the regional grouping, collaborating in the regional groupings like SARC, collaborating in the regional groupings like SARC, collaborating in the regional grouping like SARC. Fine. So these are the broad ways through which we can resolve this India Sri Lanka dispute. So now let us take the next topic. So that is here India Nepal. So write down here India Nepal. So India Nepal. So India Nepal again. India Nepal issues. In the recent times, I'll briefly give you a broad overview about India Nepal relation, and then I will write all the details tomorrow. So again, as similar to India Sri Lanka relation, India Nepal relation is not something very new. So India Nepal relation goes back till Buddhism period. So when Buddhism originated in India, and it passed on to Nepal. It spread to Nepal. So since Buddhism period, we are having a close connection with Nepal. So since that time, we are having a close connection with Nepal, and even during the colonial period, even when India was under British rule, we had a good ties with the with the empires in Nepal. And immediately after, that is immediately after India's independence, we signed a friendship treaty. So with USSR, we signed a friendship treaty in 1971, but whereas with Nepal we signed a friendship treaty immediately after India's independence. So we have a cordial relation with Nepal since beginning. Since India's independence, Nepal was considered as one of the closest allies. So that's the reason we have an open border with Nepal. So we that is, we don't require say a visa or say a passport to cross the borders. That is, Nepalis can come to India without visa or without passport. Indians can go to Nepali without visa or without passport. So we have an open border with India and Nepal. So that's how close relationship, that's how close we are. So but however, say since India's independence, we never had any violence at all along the borders. In fact, India trains the army of Nepal, and there's a joint military patrolling. That is, both Indian army and Nepalese army, they patrol together. That is here. So in this region, along the Chinese border, along the Indo-Tibet border, that is both India and Nepal patrol together. So we are at army level, we have a close connection. At polity, that is at government level, we have a close connection. And people to people contact is extremely close. Probably even when you hear this exam and when you go to Labasna, so you get people from Nepal also. That is, they will also come for training, and people from Bhutan also, they come for training. So over there, so very close relationship. But however, what happened? Just look what China did in this relation between India and Nepal. So what happened in 2013? China started this Belt and Road Initiative project. So under this Belt and Road Initiative project, China started giving a lot of money, a lot of investment infrastructure projects. So Nepal also participated in this Belt and Road Initiative project. So when Nepal also participated in the Belt and Road Initiative project, during that time, say somewhere around 2015 and 2016, 2015 and 2016, so there was a blockade. There was an allegation that India indulged in a blockade, in an economic blockade, because see all the goods that goes that goes to Nepal passes via India, because Nepal is a landlocked country. All the goods that goes to Nepal passes via India. So what happened, say somewhere in 2015 and 16, there was an allegation. This is not official data from government. There was an allegation that Indian government indulged in economic blockade in terms of not supplying them fuel, not supplying fuel. In fact, what happened, in the newspapers we could see that school kids were not able to go to their school because there was no petrol. There was no petrol to for the school vans, and the rations became very costly. The day-to-day rations became very costly. Nepal faced a fuel crisis. So but however, the allegation is that India purposefully indulged in this economic blockade. So this is allegation. So then what happened? So during this overlapped, this allegation of economic blockade overlapped with Belt and Road Initiative projects. So now Nepal, after this, Nepal thought that ठीक है, now if India is doing like this, then we will have to switch sides. And then China started playing Nepal started playing China card. So Nepal gradually moved towards China. So from 2015 onwards, Nepal gradually moved towards China, and they started receiving a lot of money, a lot of funds from China. And China has also promised that they would connect the Tibetan railways, that is Tibetan railways, to the Nepal railways over here. So now Nepal's dependency on India has coming down since 2015 onwards. So before 2015, Nepal was completely dependent on India because Nepal is a landlocked country. So it is landlocked. So for all the goods, Nepal had to depend on India. But now China has promised to construct a airport. China has promised to construct a railway networks in Nepal that would connect the Tibetan railway networks. This Tibetan railway networks is one of the finest railway networks across the world. So the China has promised that this railway network would be connected to the Tibetan railway network, and China has promised that construction of various airports, so that the dependency on India would come down. So after 2015 onwards, the relation between India and Nepal is not so great. It's not so. We cannot call Nepal as an enemy country, but the relationship is declining. And for the first time in Indian history, probably India's post-independence history, Nepal fired at India. Nepal used arms. Nepal used a weapon against India because there was a border dispute over here. So we'll see to all these border disputes in detail tomorrow. Now just see the overview. For the first time after 2015, Nepal used weapon and shot and fired against Indian personnel, or say Indian military, in this region. So there's a region called Kalapani, so near Kalapani. So this is a border dispute, boundary disputes. And recently, so I think 3 or 4 days back, so Nepal has changed its map, and they are showing Indian territory as Nepal territory. This hasn't happened. So before 2015, Nepal was one of the closest ally. In fact, we trained Nepali in army. So in after 2015, so due to this Kalapan issue, this is Kalapan issue, Nepal started firing against India. And recently, I think 3 or 4 days back, Nepal released a new currency note. In that currency note, they have, in the Nepal map, so they have included Indian territory also. So this is the current status, say 3 4 days back status. Say starting from Buddha period till 3 4 days back, this is the evolution of India-Nepal relationship. Fine. Okay. So fine. So we will take up this India-Nepal relation in detail. I'll properly arrange the setup so that from tomorrow there should not be any technical glitch as such. So from tomorrow we'll take up this India-Nepal relation in detail. Fine. Okay. So today we'll now wind up the class. And tomorrow we will be taking up answer writing also. Now that I got permission, again here I will not highlight anyone's email ID or anyone's name also. I'll just take up your own answers, and I'll use it. Fine, that's okay, right? I will not show anyone's name and anyone's email ID. Got it? That will maintain the privacy. Okay, okay. Okay, what's the outcome of Rajiv Gandhi assassination? Okay, after Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, we did not have a diplomatic engagement with Sri Lanka so properly. So after Rajiv Gandhi assassination, whatever the governments that was there, they it was firstly it was not a majoritarian government, and secondly it was not a majority government. I'm so sorry. It's not a majority government, and secondly, whatever the government that was there, it was supported by Congress. So since the prime minister got assassinated and he was a Congress member, so from 1991 till say Vajpayee regime, no major interaction with Sri Lanka. But since it was a BJP Vajpayee regime, so he could, and it was a majority government, in the sense coalition, and it was a stable government. So we could take initiatives to engage with Sri Lanka. But after Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, the diplomatic engagements with Sri Lanka came down. Yeah, that's the effect. Pavitra, for that, I believe you have to speak to the concerned person here. I'm not. I don't know about that. Why there was a need for the need to intervene in domestic politics of Sri Lanka. See, Zaba, we respect every country's sovereignty, but however, due to civil war, India faced refugee crisis. A lot of refugees came into India. Say even in Bangalore, there were refugees from Sri Lanka. Even in Tamil Nadu has a lot of refugee colonies from Sri Lanka, and these refugees are stateless people. They are vulnerable people, and since they are vulnerable people, they could be misused by some vested entity and vested interest people, and India would get a bad name. So India doesn't want that. And also we are a big country, and if we do not intervene in Sri Lanka's crisis, China would intervene, US would intervene, Russia or any other power would intervene. So we did not wanted that. So that is the reason we intervened in Sri Lanka in 1987. The same thing with Pakistan. That is in 1971, we intervened in Pakistan, the East Pakistan and West Pakistan war. So we intervened because there was a refugee crisis. There was a lot of refugee crisis from Bangladesh, the erstwhile East Pakistan, into current West Bengal. So it was creating a lot of crisis in India. And refugees are stateless, they are highly vulnerable, they could be used for any activities, and then it would be showcased to everyone that Indian soil was used to kill so and so person, Indian soil was used to do so and so things. So we don't want that name. So that's the reason we not just we, all the countries are a bit skeptical about the refugees. Yes, yes, yes. Tamilians were exploited by the Sri Lankan government, not Indian government. Indian government is in favor of Sri Lanka. In fact, so much so that, see what happened in 2013, we voted against Sri Lanka in UNHRC. So Manmohan Singh's regime was highly in favor of good having good economic relation with Sri Lanka. It was this regime who had this India Sri Lanka free trade agreement. Despite having so much economic cooperation, when it comes to Tamil issue, India always supports the Tamil issue. So we went against Sri Lanka and to support the Tamil issue. So yeah. See, initially Sri Lanka thought, yeah, everyone, even if you see that India Sri Lanka accord, it's a very much neutral accord. Yeah, the mistake what happened was that we sent this IPKF, that is, we shouldn't have sent this Indian peacekeeping force, that is a military, into Sri Lanka. That we shouldn't have done. But if you see the accord, India Sri Lanka accord, it's very much neutral. It says that Sri Lanka should give autonomy to the Tamil provinces, that is the minority northern provinces, and LTT should give up their arms. LTT should not involve in violence. So it's a very much neutral. It was a win-win situation. If Sri Lanka gives autonomy to Tamil minorities, it's a win for Tamil minorities. If the Tamil minorities, if LTT gives up the weapons, it's a win for Sri Lanka. It was a win-win agreement. Win-win agreement. But however, when India sent their peacekeeping force, when India sent our peacekeeping force there, it affected the sentiments of the local people, saying that how can we have another country's military in our land? So that backfired us. So sending IPKF backfired us, not the accord. So India Sri Lankan accord. Okay. Karan, if possible, I think your paper, I have evaluated. I think by mistake, I have sent your paper to someone. Guys, if there is any mistake, so that's the reason I request you to write your email ID on the paper. So please write your, even if, don't even write your name. Not bothered about your name. Just write your email ID, so that I can send the right answer paper to the right email ID. I think, Karan, I have evaluated your paper, man. I think so Kiran, I think I have evaluated your paper. I think I have sent it also. I'll evaluate it and send it. I think it has gone to some other email ID. Yeah, I'll just see to it, man. Yeah, good, Pari. Good. If you're free today, you can watch this Madras Cafe movie. So it's nice. Very good movie. So that is based on this India Sri Lanka relation. Good one, Pari. Okay. USA kind of supported Pakistan. USA supported Pakistan in 1971 more. Russia supported India in 1971 more. Sai Krupa, no holiday, Sai Krupa. No, Baswa Jayanti, no holiday as such tomorrow. It's a Karnataka government holiday, since it's an online platform where where people across the India watches this, or say sees this, attends this class. No holiday for online classes as such. Okay. So the Indian peacekeeping force was sent to implement this accord. So yeah, it backfired. It backfired. Yeah. So why assassinate Rajiv Gandhi? So the perception was built among the LTT is that India is favoring Sri Lanka, but whereas we did not favor Sri Lankan government at all, and Sri Lankan government saw that we are favoring Tamilians. So because we sent IPKF, so Sri Lankan government thought that India is sending military to threaten them. LTTs thought that we are sending military to threaten them. So the this thing, the LTT had a wrong perception about India, thinking that India is in favor of Sri Lankan government, and because of that, yeah, we lost our prime minister. Fine. Yes, Himani, it is under China control. Oh, Shubham is telling. Okay, fine. Muttaya Muralidharan's movie. Okay, I haven't watched Shubham. I'll see to it when I'm free. Okay. Guys, regarding the webinar, the schedule will be announced shortly. Maybe today or tomorrow it will be announced shortly. It would be announced. How Sri Lanka yeah, in Jaffna region we have invested a lot. So Jaffna, the northern part of Sri Lanka, we have invested a lot in terms of housing, in terms of education, that is construction of schools, construction of hospitals, roads. We have helped a lot in Jaffna region. India has literally helped a lot. Not exactly, Harish. Prabhakaran was not. See, these are allegations as such. We should conspiracies. We will not go into this conspiracies. Prabhakaran was killed by this one, Sri Lankan government. Not India had no role. Matlab, the official stance is that India had no role in that. So let's always stick to the this thing official version. And again, Kachativu Island, see, Kachativu Island, it's just a small island. I don't think so there is any major disputes in this island. This island has been resolved. The issue has been resolved in 1974 itself. It is just that we have recognized the sovereign territory, sovereignty of Sri Lanka over Kachativu Island. But however, India still retains the fishing rights. India still retains the right to go and worship there. We did not even get a passport or visa for to go there. So it is like as good as like Indian territory. Just the name belongs to Sri Lanka. That's it. So there's no major issues with Kachativu as such. So even during Rajiv Gandhi's era, this issue was not even taken up. So this it is only during the election period it was taken up, but no major issue as such. The only divergence of interest in this Kachativu island is that in 1974 agreement it was decided that Indian fishermen could go and fish near the Kachativu island, but Sri Lankan Navy is not allowing that. That is the issue, not the actual treaty issue as such. Fine. Okay, Zeba, all this economic blockade, all those things, we'll see to it tomorrow in detail. Okay. Okay. So chalo then. So tomorrow we'll take up this Indian Nepal issue. So thank you guys. Thank you.